Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Yvonne McCombs Show. Today, I have my old friend on the show, Mr. Wintrell DeMar. Yay, welcome! How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well today. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
No problem, and thank you for your patience because we had a little
Ah,
technical
round
difficulty.
two, take two.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to jump into the interview. I'm going to read the scripture. We're going to go from there. So it's 1 Corinthians 13 and 11. When I was a child, I spoke and thought and reasoned as a child, but when I grew up, I put away childish things. Now, based off that scripture, take me to a place to where you're like, man, like I can see my growth here as a child or a teenager until the man I am today.
You know, it's interesting you asked that question. First, I just want to say to your audience, I am a person who stutters. So if I stutter from time to time, just give me a second. I'll get through it. But
They better give you a second.
yes, thank you. But it's really interesting that you asked me that because I was just reflecting on, and if I could, I want to maybe address that question as a young,
Okay.
looking at my life from a young believer to where I am now.
Okay.
And something that I was just reflecting on this week, actually, because something arose that caused me to reflect on this. As a young believer, right, I was really eager to love people, to serve, to do all of these things that were really great things. But I just wasn't a healthy person in the way that I processed. I hadn't dealt with a lot of my childhood trauma and pain. I didn't know how to have boundaries with people.
Okay.
And while I was doing all these great things, even in the context of ministry or in the context of family, I wasn't a healthy person always in the way I engage with people. And so I've had to learn, like, you know what? I am to love people.
Yeah.
But sometimes I have to have, often, I always have to have healthy boundaries.
Absolutely.
And for such a long time, I didn't have that. And I thought it was just about loving people and doing all these things and, helping people. But it's also about being wise, being mature.
Yeah.
Sometimes help has a limit. It doesn't mean I don't love you, but it just means I have to let you experience what your actions or what your choices led you to.
Absolutely.
And I've hurt myself in the past, getting involved in things I shouldn't have gotten involved with, loaning people money who have a history of not being responsible. I got burned a couple times on those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I struggled with having boundaries and being a healthy person because I thought, oh, am I just bitter? Am I angry at people for what they've done? And I had to realize, no, it's not about that.
Right.
It's about being wise, and it's about respecting the principles that God has put into place.
Yes.
If I violate those principles by doing something for people that I shouldn't do, or allowing people to continue in negative, or I would say not allowing, but enabling people to continue in negative behavior, then I'm not really loving them the way I think I am, right? So, so that's been a journey. It's been a road to get here. I've been through some ups and downs, just learning how to engage with people, learning how to love people. Love is not about just being blind and just doing whatever someone asks of me. So I wanted to address that piece because that's just like on my mind right now as of this week.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I just think in life in general, if that's an area to address as well. What can I say? I think I'm learning to ask for what I need. I'm learning to express myself. And
Okay.
I know we would talk back in those, high school years, but in general, I was kind of a quiet person. I was really like reserved.
Yeah.
Once I got to know you, I might open up to you a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
outside of that, I was pretty, I was always reserved. I never really expressed my needs. And so I'm learning how to do that. And it sounds, I kind of don't like to say that because, I think about the age I am and everything, but it's a real thing. I'm still
Yeah.
me as a man, as a person, and I continue to grow. And so I think just learning how to speak up, learning how to express myself, learning how to deal with uh, conflict. Those
Mm-hmm.
things. When I was a youngster, when I was younger, I just avoided, not speak up, not really engage. And now
Okay.
I'm learning as an adult, I can't, as a man, I can't live my life like that. So that's been a journey as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
That's good though, because you touched on a lot of great points. Like Christ, there's certain things that he has to give tough love on. So for you to even be able to recognize, like, hey, I have to create these healthy boundaries so I can protect myself. He gives us wisdom to do so, and he gives us discernment to do so. So you're right on that one. And then even as you're saying, it's a journey and you're growing and learning as you grow. We're supposed to, because we're not dead. So as long as we're alive, we're supposed to learn and grow and allow God to mold us and strip us of the things that he is not pleased with. So you're right on the money. And it don't matter your age, because we're the same age.
We graduated the same year, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So now, Wintrell, you're a teacher.
I'm
You are.
I'm a guidance counselor, high school.
Oh, whoa. So where you were a teacher, you're now a guidance counselor?
I was a substitute teacher. I did that for
That's still a
way too
teacher.
long. Yeah, technically, but I did that for way too long though. But yeah, I was a substitute teacher, and
So you're
then
cutting all ties with that one.
oh, that was awful. That was. I don't know if we have time, we can get into that. I have some horror stories, but I learned how to be a sub. I learned how to sub, and I did pretty well toward the end. But I certainly had some battles. When the word sub in the mind of a young person just ignites all kind of wildness, right? They're
Okay.
sub, and so they just want to go hard on you. So
Yeah.
I had some good days as well, though. So it's all good.
Okay. So you're a guidance counselor.
Yes.
You are an author. And I'm going to add, because in 2000, I think 6, you put out a CD that I purchased.
Yep.
So I'm going to add, you're a lyricist,
Thank you.
dope, hot like fire. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to just add those. So, by you growing up in South Central LA and Ladino, did you or could you imagine that God will open up these opportunities for you?
You know what? That's a good question, and I would say I really appreciate that question because it's something that I have to look back on a lot, especially when I get down or maybe I feel like I haven't accomplished all of the things that I would have liked to at this point in life. I look at where I come from. Growing up where I did in South Central, gang activity. I know you have some roots there as well. I went to hang out with you guys once out there. You come from the other side of LA. But,
Yes.
but yeah, my uncle was involved in a gang in the area that we lived in. I was pretty much a walk-on in that gang if I chose to be, because my uncle, he was a involved member of that gang. He was in activities and things like that, and I grew up with all of those guys. So I was almost like from the gang in a way. Like if there was a problem, those would be the guys who would come up to the school to the support, right? So I never officially joined, by the grace of God, but I have to look back on those things because I could have easily been a Crip. I grew up with guys that are serving long
Yeah.
terms. I grew up with a few guys that were killed in gang violence.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm grateful that I've had a different experience in my life. And maybe I still have some things I want to accomplish, or maybe there's some things I would have already liked to have accomplished. I just have to appreciate that. And then moving to San Bernardino in the 8th grade, we actually got evicted because my mother was on drugs. So we didn't have a place to stay anymore. We went to live with an aunt in San Bernardino that allowed us to live there for a while until my mom could get something going. And in some ways, that was harder than Los Angeles, because in Los Angeles, there was a gang problem. We certainly had issues with my mom being on drugs. You know, I lived all over LA just as a result, because, you know, when you have a parent on drugs, it's hard to maintain housing. You know, I lived in the jungles. I come from the 90s in LA. That's kind of where my grandparents lived and where we grew up. So like Western and Manchester to like Western and Century. That's kind of where I grew up, in that area. Then we moved on 103rd as well. So just that general range there. But we lived all over LA as a result. But then moving to San Bernardino, it was hard because in Los Angeles, with all those problems, we still had a nice park in our neighborhood. We had a place where we could go swim. We had programs when we were off on summer break from school, where you can get the free lunch and you could be a part of the park program. And there might be problems at the park from time to time, but we still had a place where you had people that organized programs to support the young people. Moving to San Bernardino, where my auntie lived, what was then known as a place called Little Africa, which was, that was just as rough as the place I left. But there were no programs there. There was no area. There was nothing there. So as a kid, I just had nothing to do. And it was so hard. I couldn't walk somewhere and go to the park to play ball. I couldn't do some of these things in Los Angeles. So it was just really hard that first year or two. I came in the 8th grade, went to high school. All of my friends from 8th grade at the middle school that we went to, half of us went to Pacific and then half went to San G. And so I ended up going to San G, as did you. But the friends I made that 8th grade year, they all went to Pacific. So I lost a group of friends, right? So then I went to San G, not really having any friends. And so it was really hard, that transition. I eventually got involved in sports and different things, made some friends, eventually got involved in the work study program at San G. The cafeteria. Did you work in the cafeteria?
No, I just ate the food.
You ate from the cafeteria. Okay. Yeah, so you may recall I worked in the cafeteria all 4 years of high school. I think I may have met you in 10th grade or junior year. I forget, but
I think it was 10th grade. I actually have a picture of you in the cafeteria. I think I sent it to you.
You did. I don't know. I didn't know you in 9th grade. I know that. But it was either 10th grade or junior year that we met. I would assume having classes together or something.
Yeah. Now I first want to thank you for your transparency, because you touched on a lot of different things. Like, first off, statistically, you were never supposed to make it out of South Central LA. They give it to, I think, the age is 25 before you're either doing hard time or you are dead. And even out there, we had a friend, he had lost his life, and we were, I believe, 14. So it's like those situations are very, very real. Now, I want to visit when you moved to San Bernardino and you were in Little Africa. Did you wish and hope for something different? Because I know you said in like 2 years, then you went to San G. But in that time where you're like, man, there's nothing to do. Like, what did you do to kill time?
You know, back then there was a warehouse. It was a warehouse music store, not far from Little Africa. Kind of on Sterling and Highland. And
Yeah.
I just back then they would open up, you know, like one of the CDs for you. They had this booth where you could listen to headphones, where you could put on headphones to hear the music. And I just went up there to listen to music like a few times every week, to the point where after a couple of months they said, "Hey man, I'm sorry, you know, we can't keep opening up all of these CDs for you." They were really good to me there though. But yeah, it was interesting. I was having a conversation with my brother about this not too long ago, and he was
Mm-hmm.
telling me how he said, "I know that." He said that was so hard for me. He was like, "I never saw a kid depressed in my life until I saw you that year." Like, because my brother, he was in the
Wow.
age group where he started hanging out with my younger cousins,
Mm-hmm.
and they would, ride their bikes and hang out and do things. They would go steal and get into activities, but they would also just hang out. So there was a group of boys in that age group. But for me, I didn't have that, and
Wow.
I like to play sports. And so at that time, those kids in that area were just into the hood stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have that group of kids to hang out with. And so it was hard. All I had was warehouse music.
Wow.
Yeah, and I had already had a love for music, so that worked for me. It's not that that wasn't a good thing; it was a great thing for me, but I just didn't have anything else to do. Where when I
Mm-hmm.
lived in Los Angeles, I just go up to the park every day, play ball, hang out with my friends,
Right.
and I knew enough people where I may have issues from time to time, but I grew up there, so it was mainly one dude that would give me a hard time, but even he knew me. It was like, it wasn't a big issue. It was just happening from time to time with him. So uh, it was hard moving to San Bernardino, moving to
Mm-hmm.
Africa. It may have saved my life because in Los Angeles, I ended up having to go to a middle school. I lived on 103rd at the time, 103rd and Dinker, and the middle school is called Henry Clay.
Okay.
Henry Clay was on like 129th or something like that. So I had to walk from 103rd. And my mama, she was on drugs, so she couldn't give me $1 to ride the bus, which would have helped my life so much.
Oh.
I would have needed $1 there and back. I think at the time it cost like 110 or something like that to ride.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was on my own though. So that was a tough year for me, having to endure that. And I would have had to join the gang from the gang in the area where I was from because of the issues I was having just trying to walk to school. And because I
Wow.
wasn't a part of anything, I was a target. So a person could jump me, or a group of young boys could jump me to look hard in front of their friends, maybe the older boys that are in high school at this time. And I have no support. I'm on my own, right? And I have friends, I know guys that go to school, but none of us are in that world. And none of them live with me in that area. So I got to walk to school alone every day.
Yeah.
And I went through a lot that year. And so the guys from my neighborhood, one day they came up to the school and they just let everybody know, like, he with us. They just, if you having any problems, let us know. We're going to be up here,
Wow.
And then I already knew him, already had love for him because I grew up with him. And these are maybe the older guys that are in, like high school at this time.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt that bond with them. Like, this is where I get the support. And I
Yeah.
need the support. Like, and that's how a lot of those kids get involved in gangs out there because
Right. Right.
so it was either deal with these problems every day, walking to school, people trying to jump me, people trying to, people really just trying. These are kids that are starting to go into the gang world, so now they got to do things to look good in front of their
Mm-hmm.
homeboys, in front of, in the area that they live in. So they want to do things to look hard, to get a reputation. And I can't be that person that they get a reputation from, right? So
You're right.
it makes me feel like, well, I got to join up with them because if I'm from the 90s, then now you got to think twice. Because, once I let my people know, it's going to be a situation. And so it's really, it's not even that a lot of those kids want to get involved. It's just that you feel like you have no choice. You feel like your options are, I could get smashed on, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I could be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough choice to make.
Right.
So yeah.
And now you said warehouse music was sort of like an outlet and you had love music or had a passion for music. When did you start writing?
So officially, well, you have the music and then you have poetry, which is music is poetry as well. But I tried to start. I tried to start raps. Tried to start my music career as a young person, maybe like 7 or 8, when like Criss Cross when they came out.
Oh,
I just lit a fuse in me. I was like, I could do that. And I tried to write a rap at that age. I maybe got like 6 bars before I couldn't write anymore. That
okay.
was something for a young guy that age, you know.
Right.
That was nice. And so I was in a little group with my friend. We wanted to start a group at that age. We were like, 8 years old. And then once I moved from LA, that kind of died out with him. But then I started writing poems in the 5th grade. I was about 10
Okay.
years old. I wrote the first poem, which appears in my book. And then I would write here and there, but then I wrote the majority of the poems that we'll get to a little bit later in your show that appear in my book I wrote in high school. And then toward the end of after I graduated high school, I started with the music again. So it
Okay.
was kind of always a part of my life, in and out. Always something I wanted to do. Um, it was always tough because I had to deal with the realities of having to work and, you know, survive. And do I want to go to school? Do I want to pursue music full time? Those sorts of things that I always
Hmm.
with. But that's kind of how the journey began for me as a writer overall.
And I love that because even when life throws us lemons and we, of course, make lemonade, God is very intentional. And yes, it was rough. And yes, you're still figuring some things out. But God uses every single piece of who Wintrell DeMar is for your life story. And
Right.
I'm telling you, this is so encouraging and inspiring. And it's going to help a whole lot of people. So thank you. So
Yeah.
you mentioned your book, which is The Adolescent Poetry of Wintrell DeMar.
Yes.
So I looked up your middle name because that just kept ringing out to me like DeMar, DeMar. And it said, a gift from God. And I'm like, wow. And then you release your book. And to me, it's like you're releasing your gift to the people to show, like, this is where I started and this is my journey I've been on. And people can relate to different parts of your life. Like, you just don't know how fire you are, Wintrell,
That's deep. Where did you find that information at? That's deep.
on the internet.
You got to send me a link to that website that you used.
Yes.
You took me. You're just trying to butter me up with that one. I don't.
No.
I got to look that up. A gift from God, huh?
Yeah.
All
So it's like,
right.
do
That's
you
deep.
see your art as a gift?
You know what? I do now. I wish I had sooner,
Yeah.
but I do now. Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. So people always say your gift will make room for you. So what room has your gift allowed you to do? Whether it has been rapping, whether it's been
Yeah.
an author.
Well, let's get into that, and I'm just gonna be real with you. I'm gonna be honest and transparent, and
Okay.
you know, I know you anyway, so this ain't like, yeah, I never met you before or anything like that. So,
Right.
um, so you know what is? I have to be honest and say I kind of ignored my gift for a little while these past few years, and I'm learning from that experience. I'm still processing that, but um, so let me respond directly to what you just asked by expressing I'm now at the beginning stages of seeing what room my gift will make,
Okay.
because I've kind of had to restart my career as an artist, as a writer, things like that. So we will see. It's definitely something that I embrace right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, I am a professional. I have a full-time job. I have a couple of degrees, which I think there's nothing wrong with having those, and I think some people should have those degrees, but I just think my education as a whole was somewhat of a miseducation, because I
Oh,
think what I've learned but I am able to use that as well, because I try to help the young people I work with high schoolers, and I try to help the students I work with identify what their gifts are, what their passions are, what they're really interested in, and then I try to
wow.
orient them around those things, because that's where you're going to find a full life. For some of them, that may mean yes, you're an academically inclined person. That's your gift. You need to take that to higher education, pursue that, develop your mind.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, they have a gift with their hands, and they're very great and excellent using their hands, and their minds and their hands work together in such a way that they can fix things, they can uh, build things, right? And what I see a lot, and I see this firsthand, is that we try to tell everyone there's one way for you. Go to college, get a job, get a degree so you can make more money. That's so bogus. And I'm a guidance counselor. I'm the one who helps people apply to college and apply to these programs. And I can tell you right now that is so bogus. So I really try to help young people find their gifts, and then I try to encourage them to develop those things. Put your energy, your time into that. That's something that I didn't do per se.
Mm-hmm.
Not 100%. Like you talked about the album I released in '06. I mean, these are things I did kind of off and on. I was going to school, I was working, right? But I never gave my gifts my whole heart, which I should have, my whole mind and being. And so
Okay.
I'm in a transition. Obviously, I have bills now. I have a student loan, these sorts of things. But I'm trying to move in a way, and I pray about this at least once a week. I need to pray more, but I just pray that God would help me to continue to grow as I use my gifts. He's opened up some doors for me with my book. There were some things I needed to update on it. I was able to meet one of the elders up here. He actually went to high school with my stepdad, and
Okay.
he helped me out a lot so that I can get my book out again. So that being said, I know it was a long response to what you asked, but there's a lot, at least for me in my history, there's a lot behind that
Right.
question. And so I would say I'm looking forward to seeing what God does in my life as I just try to exercise and use the gifts that He has given me. It may not look the same as it did when I was 20 or 22, but that's okay. Because it's not so much about the result. It's just about being obedient, using what I have. And where it
Yes.
comes from that, I'm happy with.
Absolutely. And that's excellent. I love the obedience part, because obedience is better than sacrifice.
I've learned that the hard way, let me tell you.
But and that's okay. Some of us do. I did too. I did too. But thank God we serve a forgiving God. And those of us who know Jesus, we have that avenue to Him. When we mess up, we can repent to our Father. And He's like, you know what? I forgive you. Do it this way, so then you'll be okay. So speaking of Jesus, when did you accept Him?
So that took place over time as well. And I'm always growing in my relationship with the Lord. But I think there was a time where I loved the Lord in the sense of let me say this. There was a time when about 8th grade, there was a church down the street from my house. I started to attend, and I felt a call from God, to give my life to Him. And I did, the sinner's prayer. That was big at the time. I know not too many people, not everyone uses it as much as they did back then, but I did that a lot. But I hadn't really given my life over to the Lord in that sense, right? I didn't, I was still kind of living one way at school, or just not really wanting like my whole being, right? I still wanted to talk to girls, I still wanted to do certain things with the young ladies. I still wanted to kind of live my own life. I wanted to, do different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say in high school, it was kind of an off and on experience. And then when I was about 20 years old, I really made a decision like, I'm really going to stop playing. I'm not going to be one way here and one way there. Not that I'm perfect, but I want to make a conscious effort to surrender myself to the Lord. So I was about 20 years old when that happened. I got baptized, really just gave my heart, gave my life to the Lord. I went through some struggles after that. I would say about maybe 12 years later or so, I just went through a time where in my walk, I just became really unsure. Didn't know if I wanted to do it anymore. Didn't really like some of the results I was having in life. And I stopped attending church for a while and just really spent some time alone for a little while there, maybe 3 years or so. Just really trying to explore in my own heart, in my own life, where I wanted to go with the Lord. And so that was a journey as well. And I've since come off that tip, but it's I won't say that I appreciate the journey. And I mean, there was some sin, and sin is never good for us. But I'm just grateful, like you said, we serve a just God. We serve a God of mercy, of grace. And I've never, I can say that I appreciate it and that I've learned so much about grace that I didn't know before, right? I didn't really have that grace experience before in my walk with God. So I definitely appreciate having that on this side of things. So yeah, it's been a journey, but I'm grateful, definitely grateful for the Lord's mercy in my life.
Absolutely. And this Christian faith walk, it is a journey. Like we walk in like this huge trail until the day we don't wake up anymore. So I love how you keep reiterating like this is a journey and we're not perfect. I think as believers, we put ourselves on that perfect pedestal. So when we mess up, we're like, dang, I messed up. But the other people in the world's messing up too. And then no sin is greater than the next. So we can't condemn each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you all right.
Thank you. Thank you, good sister.
Yes. Okay. So I have a lot of good questions for you.
I'm still stuck on what my middle name means. A gift from God.
Yeah.
You got to sit down, put that link in the chat. Put that link in the chat.
I have to figure out how to do that first.
Now I just need to know what my first name means. I'll be solid.
Okay. I'll definitely look that up.
Yeah. So
now with your book, with your rapping now, the people want to know, is there any more music coming from Wintrail?
Yeah. I hope so. There's definitely some music on my heart. And I would definitely like to get it out. So I'm praying about that. I'm not involved in that world the way I used to be when I was younger. So kind of like a fresh start for me. So I definitely am not in a position to pay to have my music put out right now. I have other things I have to use my money for at this time. But we'll see. I hope so. I definitely want to write. I want to write for some others as well. I think I have some songs.
Oh, that's cool.
Other people could sing and really express well. So I'm really exploring that avenue as well. Because what I've learned about myself is that I'm a poet. And I don't say that in that sense like I'm a poet. I'm a lyricist. I'm a writer. Interesting enough, my first experiences with writing came in school newspaper when I was in elementary school in Los Angeles. So it's always been something that I loved. And sometimes it takes the form of music. Sometimes it takes the form of poetry. Sometimes it takes the form of an essay. Things like that. But I just want to use that gift. So we'll see what doors the Lord opens up. I'm in the process of writing a series of shorts, not stories, but maybe like essays, if you will. So I'm
Okay.
doing that as well. And so I appreciate it all today. I appreciate it all as a whole.
And that's great because Wintrell, you're a guidance counselor. You
Yeah.
plant seeds into the lives of the next generation. So why would God not answer those prayers that you are presenting to him? He is your father. He is your daddy. So when you call out to him, he was like, yeah, yeah. Oh, Wintrell, hold on. Wintrell got something to say. He's asking me about the music.
Well, you know what's interesting about that, and I really think we're in tune right now, and I think that the spirit's in tune because, you know, to go back to what I was saying earlier about learning how to express myself,
Mm-hmm.
learning how to ask for things,
Yeah.
that begins with God, and what I've
Mm-hmm.
learned, even as a believer, and even to what I said earlier about, you know, just healing, learning how to be a healthy person, is that I never really knew how to ask God for anything.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that just came from the way I was raised, right? My mother being on drugs and my dad not being there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to put it all on her, right? He had a responsibility that he didn't live up to either. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, my mom wasn't available to ask for things. And because
Okay.
she was spending the money on drugs, she hated being asked for things because she didn't have the money or she didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
So I just closed up. I never asked mom, and because I was having that experience in my life, and God is supposed to be, at least from what I could understand from God as a kid, right? He's God, he's above us, then I don't get why this is my experience. So if God's in
Yeah.
control of everything, then what does that mean for God? Like, does he care? Right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's all these things that I continue to have to work through.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to do everything on my own, which caused me a lot of problems in life, just period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I always felt like I had to do everything on my own, right? Even back in high school, when I started working in the cafeteria in the ninth grade, not because
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to hang out at lunch and hang with my friends and talk to girls and do what everybody else was doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I needed that money to buy food, to buy myself a pair of shoes because my mom couldn't.
Yeah.
So that's just how I approach life, and so I'm learning that, wait a minute, that's not that wasn't God's will for me to have to experience that.
Mm-hmm.
That was just the result of sin, and there's another experience between me and God, and I haven't arrived there yet. It's still something I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning how to do. I have to remind myself, hey, you need to pray and ask God for help. You're trying to do this,
Yeah.
you're going on, your self will again. So it's a journey, but
Right.
I'm excited to be moving into that space with the Lord because
Oh,
um,
Jesus is calling right now.
Jesus is calling right now. But I'm excited to be moving into that space because I can't do it all alone. I can't do it on my
Mm-hmm.
own. So we'll see. I'm excited to see what comes.
Yeah, and that just shows your growth. And just again, to toot Jesus's horn, he never leaves us. Like, you've experienced all this, and some people sadly don't make it from it. They don't realize that God was in it, still guiding and leading you along the way. They don't understand their purpose. What would you say to someone that was in your situation with depression? Absentee father, parents on drugs, like what would you say as encouragement to them?
You know what? I think there's probably a few different ways to approach that. Um, obviously from the point of my personal faith, I would try to encourage them to find hope in the Lord. Um, Not every kid has faith or is religious, so
Mm-hmm.
I can't always explore that angle, especially in my role as a counselor. But that would be the first approach if I have that ability, and if they do believe in, or at least open to hearing about it. But then from there, I think I really encourage young people to find something you can invest yourself into, because that will give you hope in those hard times. Like for me, I love playing sports. Mm-hmm. So the fact that I always wanted to play, it gave me a way to get out of the house. I didn't have to be around the drug scene and the people that my mother was bringing around, who was into the streets and into drugs and into this crazy life. I saw some crazy stuff, but I didn't have to be around that all the time because I had my own world. I could go to the park, play sports. When I was in high school, I played sports pretty much year round, and it just gave me my own world. So I think if young people can find something positive, if they can find something constructive to really invest in, it'll help them in those hard times, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then also how you're into writing, like that's similar to journaling, and that's one outlet as well.
Absolutely.
So this is excellent and good stuff. I would just want to reiterate for someone who maybe heard about Jesus or God for the first time on this platform, that is very simple to get to know him. All you have to do, like you talked about the sinner's prayer, is just simply go to God and let him know you believe that he sent his son to die on the cross, and you believe in him, and you'll be saved, and find you a Bible where you can learn more about him. Right now we're doing church online, so you can find you a Bible-believing church and start your journey from them, and then be discipled. Like that's very important. I don't know about you, Wintrell, but I had to find out this walk on my own. So I really pushed discipleship because that would have saved me from a lot of stuff.
No, absolutely. And you know, if you're just hearing about the Lord for the first time, I call Jesus by his Hebrew name now. Mm-hmm. Yeshua.
Yes.
But just reach out, you know, begin that prayer, and you reach out for the Lord, and he will respond.
Yes, he will.
And I remember when I was just longing for a church to be a part of, when I was just longing for people to really, you know, to be in my life, to help me. It took a little while, but the Lord opened up that door for me. So if you align your desires with his, you may not know everything. Like I didn't know when I was reaching out for God, I didn't even know how to read the Bible. Mm-hmm. I didn't really read it that much, to be honest, at that time. Mm-hmm. But that's okay, because I didn't have to have everything lined up and perfect.
Exactly.
I didn't have to know everything. The Lord loves us. I mean, he loves us. He died for people who didn't choose him, right? He died for people who went astray. Right. So how much more will he be there for you when you turn to him? If he's willing to die for us when we went away from him, what is that experience going to be like when we turn to him? So just begin that process. It's not hard. I know, especially living in the Bay, right? A lot of people have issues with organized religion and churches, how people use money and these different things that have happened, how people have misused authority and taken advantage of people.
Yeah.
But, you know, it doesn't have to mean that you're automatically going to join a group or a church, or, you know, some people don't like, you know, you got this denomination and these people. And this
right.
People. So I think there's things that could hinder a person, but don't mistake a relationship with God for church. Those are like two.
Yeah.
And they do intersect often. They can intersect. But don't let that hold you back because you feel like I got to join up with a church or something. You don't even have to begin there, right? Just begin reaching out to God, asking him to show you his will in your life. Open up the word of God, you know, and that journey will begin. It's already begun, right? But that will definitely open up some doors for you.
Absolutely. And that was wonderfully said. He definitely meets us where we are. Yeah. So now, Wintrell, what would you say to Wintrell at 17? What advice would you give your 17-year-old self if you knew what you knew now?
I think I already hit on it. You know, develop your talents and gifts. put your whole being into those things, and don't be afraid. I think for me, and again, I can't make any excuses. I just accept responsibility. But I think I was so afraid of being poor. I was so afraid of living life the way I grew up in the area I was living in. I thought, I'll do music on the side, but I got to go get a job. I got to go make some money. I had to move out of my mom's house. I moved out when I graduated high school at 18. And so I was always in that struggle. And again, I didn't know how to ask God for anything. I didn't believe that anyone cared enough to help me with anything. And I might not say that directly to God. Like I would never look up to the sky and say, God, you don't care about me. But in my heart, I felt that way, right? In a way. And so, and then if I had asked God for something and it didn't happen, that just reinforced how I already felt, right? And I had to prayer. Prayer is not always about me getting what I want, but the Lord knows what I need, right? But so I had to work through all of that. But if I could go back, I would just say, put your whole heart into your talents and gifts, and then work and all that is on the side. And you're just to take care of yourself, do what you got to do. Instead, I was putting more here into working and going to school, doing these other things, and my gifts were kind of on the side as I had time. So that's what I would say to myself at that age, at 17.
And that's good. I like how you were just so transparent in saying, like, I didn't know how to ask God, and this is how I felt. Because one thing I've learned in all my trauma and hurt is to be honest before God. Like, if you felt like he wasn't going to give you anything, if you felt he disappointed you, like, tell him, because it's a relationship. Just like if you were in a relationship and your girlfriend or wife or mom or sister or whoever did something, you're like, you know what? I didn't like that. That rubbed me this way. Like, just be honest with him, and he can take it.
Absolutely.
So in saying what you would say to yourself at 17, what would you say to Wintrell, let's say at, let's see, you're 38.
You ain't gonna put that on the camera like that. Go ahead. Go ahead. You already did it. Yeah, I'm 38. Yeah.
Okay, what about Wintrell at 45?
I thought you were going to say 25 or something. I don't even know what I'm going to say to myself. I know what I'm saying to myself now. I know what I want that age to look like.
Okay, what is it? What do you want it to look like?
I just want to be free. I want to be really engaging in my gifts, my talents. I want to be out of debt with my student loans.
Okay.
I don't want to start listing everything, but I'm in the process of manifesting those things that I want to see at that age. But I would say what I'm telling myself now that is going to lead me to that age.
Okay.
Things that are going on now is I just really want to be honest. I love what you said. If I feel disappointed or like, I got to work through these things, right? I got to work through these things with God. So I think the way I try to do now, the way I try to live my life now is I just really try to identify, like, what is my truth in the sense of where should I be spending my time, right? Because I think when I was younger, I was always like swayed by whatever was going on, what my group was doing, or going to work or going to school, or these ideas I had about, what I had to do in my life, but they weren't always true to me, right? They were taking me away from my gifts and these sorts of things. And so what I try to do now, I just try to make decisions around my well-being. I still want to serve others. I do that in my work every day. But I also have to take it. Well, what I've learned, and this may sound, I think there was a time where this sounded wrong to me, and maybe you don't agree. Let me know. I'm okay with that. But I come first. I have to take care of myself first. And if I don't do that, I can't give anything to anyone else. And I can, but I'm gonna be out of balance. So I'm really like guarded with my time. I know, people want me to do different things, or even in my church group, right? Even in my ministry, I have some boundaries that I didn't have before. Like when I was younger, hey, girl, can you do this? Oh yeah, sure. Hey, can can you take up this? Yeah, sure. I'll take, can you serve here? Yeah, sure. It's, and it's tough because I have boundaries.
Right.
I'm like, you know what? I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Well, we need you to serve, and don't you think you should? No, I don't think I should because I'm trying to release my book. I have to work already. I have some things I need to do for my own life that I don't always have
Right.
time for, and I have to have those tough conversations with people. They don't always agree with me, but you know what? That's okay because, and again, there's a fine line, right? I don't want to go overboard with that either, but that's how I try to live today. I just try to identify what is true for me, and as opposed to people just loading things on me,
Right.
I kind of let people know this is the amount of time that I have to give to outside things,
Mm-hmm.
or to serve here or to lead something. This is the time that I have to do that. Anything
Right.
that requires more time than this, I cannot do because I have to take care of other things. I have to take care of myself at this other time. And I think I didn't always know how to do that. And so
Yeah.
that's how I'm trying to live today. And I hope that as the years go on, it bears fruit. And again, I want to have impact outside of myself as well. But the way I do that is using my gift, right? So
Yeah.
I have to put in time and effort to administering my gift. It's tough to be kind of at ground zero at this age. But like I said, it's not about like the results. Like for me, my prayer is not like, God, make me this big star, make me whoopie whoop. It's more so, God, help me to be faithful, help me to be consistent,
Mm-hmm.
help me to do your will. And whatever you
Right.
bring from me doing that, that's the get that's the blessing right there. So yeah, we'll see how that bears fruit as I move along. Definitely still learning, definitely still growing, definitely still have my ups and downs. Life's not always easy. We're definitely in a spiritual war. I think
Mm-hmm.
this year has shown us that in a new way.
Yeah.
And so, I'll continue to have my ups and downs. I'll continue to learn, but I hope that those downs become that I can walk with the Lord in those times. So yeah, that's what I can say.
And that's excellent. I absolutely agree with you. I actually learned on a show like 2 shows ago from a licensed marriage and family therapist that it's God first and then self-care.
Yeah,
Because what we as believers do, believe it or not, we give, and then we work from a state of depletion. And then we're no good to ourselves nor anyone else when we do so. And we're definitely not, I repeat, definitely not honoring God doing so. He didn't create us like that to do that. Even he rested. So
yeah,
it's like we definitely need to take that time out for ourselves.
yes. I practice the Sabbath now, and that's something I didn't do.
Yes.
But I'm glad you said that. I mean, I come first in terms of humans, right? God is always,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yes.
so I didn't mean like that. All right, just to put that out there. But yeah, God is
We
definitely
did
first. But
it.
I'm just speaking on this plane. I'm not speaking like up here. I'm just right
Right.
here. God first, then me. Yes.
Yes. So now we're closing to an end. I know that you've touched so many lives and your journey is not over. So where can the people find more from you? Where can they follow you? Where can they purchase the adolescent poetry of Wintrell DeMar?
uh, you know what? I've talking about using my gift. I just got back on social media maybe 3 or so months ago. So
Oh, okay.
I'm back on. I got back on sometime this year. I'm still a little bit afraid of Facebook. That just kind of overwhelms me. There's a lot going on that platform. It is
Yeah,
different from when I was last on because I was off for about 2 years, so it looks
me
different.
too.
Still
Yes, it is.
learning how to use Facebook, but my Instagram is probably the most online place. It's active. It has
Okay.
links to my book. You can find
Okay.
that on Instagram /Wintrail. You can see the spelling of my name in this video. So
Okay.
I am on Instagram. I have some of my poems on there. I have a link to the book if you would like to buy one. And Instagram. So I'm just gonna promote that right now because that's really the place that I've been the most engaged. It looks really
Okay.
nice, and yeah, that's where you can find me.
Okay. Now, in closing, do you have any final remarks for the people?
You know what? Love God, um, love each other, and develop your talents and gifts. And if you feel like it's been too long, if you feel like um, maybe you lost a lot of time, you don't know what God has for you. If you still have a gift, if you still had the gift that you had, just begin where you are. Start small and let your uh, character and your submission to the will of God, let that be the journey. Don't have
Yeah.
these ideas about what you should be or what you could have been. Just begin where you are and allow the Lord to use you. There's going to be a time of development, of growth, especially for people like me, right? I haven't really been invested with my gifts as much as I
Mhm.
would have liked to be. I would have liked to be. So there's, I got to put in time. I have to relearn some things, but that's a part of the journey. But I think what I've learned is that in doing so, it draws me closer to God. It's a new experience when I begin to
Mhm.
use the gifts that He has given me. I've had to separate myself from what I would have liked to have been, and just
Mhm.
get into like, hey, I'm beginning where I am. Your will be done, and it's a
Yeah.
beautiful journey. So, I mean, in the context of what we've been talking about this evening, that's what I would say to the people.
And that's excellent. I love how you said begin where you are.
Yeah.
And I think for some people, they have to forgive themselves for not making certain decisions that
Yeah.
they thought they should have
Yeah.
made, and then trust God's process.
Yes. That was
Yeah.
me. That was me. Let me testify to that. Yes. You hit the nail on the head with that.
Yeah. So, Wintrell, I totally appreciate your time.
Yeah.
And I pray that God blows your mind. That's my
Thank
prayer
you.
for you, is that He blows your mind. I thank you so much for coming on the show today. Don't be a stranger.
Yes.
Okay. And I will
Okay.
talk to you soon.